All right. Perfect. Okay. So it doesn't look like we have a quorum, but we do because Councillor Whittle is via Zoom. But let's do this. Call to order the regular council meeting of Wednesday, February 26, 2025. I'd like to start this meeting off by acknowledging that we are gathered on the Treaty 8 First Nations territory in the long-standing presence of the elders and ancestors of Treaty 8, and that through this acknowledgement we extend recognition and respect to the BC Treaty 8 First Nations and all those who call the Peace Country home. I'd like to move to item number 3, adoption of agenda. Recommendation that the council adopts the February 26th. That's not right. Oh, yes. Regular February 26th council meeting agenda. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Thank you. I was reading minutes and agenda at the same time. I apologize. Any comments on today's agenda? All those in favor?
In favor.
And that is carried. Wonderful. Moving on to item number 4, adoption of minutes. I'm going to like to make the recommendation that council adopts the January 22nd regular council meeting minutes. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Thank you. Any discussion regarding the minutes? All those in favor?
In favor.
And that is carried. Okay, introduction of late items, none. Public hearings, none. Moving on to delegation 7.1, the Peace River Regional District presentation of the final regional growth strategy by Ashley Murphy. So the floor is yours, my dear. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. I control the presentation from up here?
Yes. Just have to enable sharing the screen as well as switching the application browser. Yeah.
Is the screen sharing yet?
No, I don't believe so.
No. 2 seconds, Councillor Whittle.
Oh, there we go. Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me here today. So my name is Ashley Murphy, General Manager of Development Services with the Peace River Regional District, for those of you who I don't already know or who may be listening. So I'm very excited today to be able to provide an update on our Regional Growth Strategy project. The Regional Growth Strategy project has kicked off in 2023. And I'm going to give a brief overview. There we go. Okay, so today I'm going to give an overview of the project and discuss the final draft and then the implementation and adoption. So how we got here. As a recap, you will likely remember this from my original presentation last year. So regional growth strategies are enabled by the Local Government Act. There's a few stipulations around them. They must be cover a 20-year time frame, and they must include information around population and employment statistics. They're intended to help guide long-term regional growth and planning. And they can cover a wide variety of policy topic areas such as housing, transportation, economic development, etc. So for this project, we had a steering committee, and I want to gratefully acknowledge the support of the Village of Pouce Coupe for providing support throughout this project. You had staff participate throughout the development, and we also had representatives from all the member municipalities as well as regional district staff. We had provincial agencies such as Ministry of Transportation, Northern Health, Ministry of Agriculture. As well, we did invite First Nations throughout the region to participate, with DOIG actually having a member sit on the steering committee throughout the process. We met 5 times. And they helped to support, all the steering committee members really helped to support engagement and outreach throughout the project. So where are we at? We are here in the final phase. So again, the project has really been a combination of PRD board and staff direction, steering committee, and public and stakeholder input, which I'm going to talk a little bit about now. So we did a ton of engagement throughout this project. So we did online, we did in person, we did a big round the region tour, having events in almost every community. We were at the Chetwynd Chainsaw Carving Festival and the Fort St. John Farmers Market. And it was really great to get out and actually interact and engage with residents throughout the region and get a lot of feedback and input. So this is kind of a summary of all of the different engagement that we had. We did radio ads, we did mail outs, we mailed out over almost 4,500 postcards. We had over 1,800 visits to the project's Have Your Say page, and that number is obviously still counting. We did the pop-ups, stakeholder sessions, we released fact sheets, media releases, lots. So where are we at now? So we actually have the draft plan. The draft plan is available for public review and comment now on the project's Have Your Say page. So within the growth strategy, we have a section on population and job forecasts, and this information can also be found in much higher detail in the regional profile document that's also available on the project page, which was released last year. So based on a review that was done early on in the project, our consultants went through and they reviewed every community's official community plans, strategic plans, and other relevant bylaws and policies. And through that, and looking at our high, medium, and low growth projections, at the high end, we're anticipating about 19,000 people over 20 years, or a 1.1% growth rate. It is anticipated that most of that growth is going to be absorbed within the urban centers, and that's based on a review of your existing land that's already designated for residential development. There's more than enough land to accommodate this growth already within the region, and most of it is in the urban centers. And then that is in turn reflected in the regional growth strategy policies. So we also have a vision statement in the document, and the vision statement we pilfered from the regional board's strategic plan originally, and we have revised it through all the rounds of public engagement to get the vision that we see here today, and that is in the draft plan. So the growth strategy itself, the document is set up around goal areas. So we have kind of 9 goal statements, and these were really defined through the community engagement, and consistently ranking high throughout all engagement was regional economy, community health and living well, and agriculture. So they're set out, and each of the goal areas has a supporting goal statement, a description of the topic area, and then there's 2 to 5 policy objectives with policies listed underneath there. You'll see that in some of them they overlap, and you'll see some policies actually repeated in different goal areas, and that's really speaking to the fact that so much of this work is interrelated. None of it, kind of happens in a vortex or in a silo. So the general policy types that we have outlined in the document are really PRD focused policies, and you'll see that later on when we get to the implementation section of the document. Joint and collective advocacy policies, so how can we represent the role of the regional district and our member municipalities and residents? How can we advocate to, say, the provincial government? And then collaborative PRD-led regional projects. And it just notes again, some policies appear in more than one area. So let's dive into some of these policy areas. So community building. So this is where we're, as I discussed before with the population growth, we anticipate the communities to be able to accommodate most of that growth. So recognize the City of Fort St. John and Dawson Creek as the main urban centers with their established services and identified growth capacity, but support small growth in smaller urban centers such as the village of Pouce Coupe that is within their official community plans established development capacities, and work collaboratively with member municipalities on fringe area planning through PRD, OCP, or official community plan updates. So other policies under here are protect the rural character, or protect the character of rural areas. So identify and engage with rural communities throughout the region, which could be designated as rural settlement centers and accommodate higher levels of development than other rural communities, and ensure that potential rural settlement centers consider future servicing needs and the associated costs. So an example of that would be like our community, rural community of Presbyterian, which does have higher growth rates than some of the other rural areas. Rolla might be another example of where we could look to have some engagement with that community to see if there's interest in, you know, further development or growth. So economic strength, so again, regional economy was a top ranked priority throughout all rounds of engagement. So support a diversified regional economy, so explore the development of a regional employment land strategy. Sometimes you'll hear these referred to as things like industrial land strategies. Employment lands is a combination of industrial and commercial land, so looking really at those employment sectors. Consider the development of a regional economic development strategy through a collaborative process involving PRD municipalities, ECDEV stakeholders, industry groups, and First Nations who may be interested in participating. And so this one we know has been in front of the regional board, but again, this is something that was really ranked as a top priority for the residents throughout the region. Agriculture and food, another one of our top ranking ones. So support local agriculture and related businesses. So work collaboratively with member municipalities, agricultural producers, and First Nations to develop a regional agricultural strategy. Work with PRD member municipalities to advocate to the Ministry of Agriculture to protect ag land within the rural areas while recognizing urban development needs within municipalities. So some of the feedback that we have heard from our municipal partners throughout this process was some challenges in identifying lands within an urban boundary for future development when they're in the ALR. So sometimes the ALC isn't overly supportive of designating lands for non-agricultural uses, even though that may, in the context of urban planning, be considered good planning practice. So living well, collaborate for safe, healthy, and active communities across the PRD. Work with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit and member municipalities to create a regional transportation master plan that considers active transportation and enhancing community well-being. Consider working with PRD member municipalities, nonprofit housing providers, and other housing and development partners and residents to develop a regional housing plan. So on the transportation piece, that was another topic that was repeated throughout engagement. We know that there's concerns about the general transportation network here, whether it be access to rail or the Taylor Bridge or other hot button topics. As well, with the regional housing plan, as we're all familiar, we just had to do under the new legislation an interim housing needs report. And then again in 2028, we will need to do a full update of the housing needs report. So likely mid-late 2026, I'll be reaching out to your staff to begin initiating that process and scoping out that work. And the goal is to really look at doing it regionally with all member municipalities participating. So putting the plan into action, and I can't stress this enough, this is not intended to be a document that sits on a shelf. This document has an implementation plan. We also have a monitoring plan, which I'll talk a bit about later. But this is really intended to help drive forward and provide direction to staff for work that needs to be undertaken. So as I alluded to earlier, there's a lot of actions in this document that are PRD focused, and that's really intentional. This is the first regional growth strategy for our region, and we're substantially different than the other regional districts throughout the province that have a regional growth strategy in place. Most of them are in the southern half of the province. Most of them are experiencing very high population growth pressures, whereas our growth is typically more economic in nature. And so ours just looks different. We don't have anything prescriptive for the municipalities in this. It's really that collaboration piece. How do we work together? How do we leverage our shared opportunities or shared challenges for the collective betterment of this region? And so as you'll see, everything on the implementation plan is for us at the PRD to undertake. Now, obviously, as noted, this is going to require collaboration from member municipalities, stakeholders, residents, First Nations. So we kind of have some that we're going to try and hit in the next 1 to 4 years. So some of these are minor kind of update type things like the subdivision development servicing bylaw, the rural settlement center study. We'll be looking to undertake some of that work through the update to the rural official community plan, which I'm hoping to kick off either late this year or early next year. The PRD Regional Natural Hazard and Climate Risk Assessment. So we have obtained grant funding for that project from UBCM, the Disaster Risk Resilience something acronym. So hopeful that that project gets underway this year. So some of these things are actually already, the wheels are in motion. So what does this mean for municipalities? So within 2 years of adoption of the regional growth strategy, member municipalities will need to include a regional context statement within your official community plans. And so we have been working closely with staff, and we have provided guidance and example documents that kind of outline what those context statements can look like. There's also an opportunity to update the OCP to align it with the regional growth strategy if needed. In conversations with staff, most of the OCPs, there's a lot of things that are already in alignment between all the OCPs in the member municipalities and the regional growth strategy. So as I mentioned, monitoring is a key piece of this project. So we will be doing an annual report. We have a list of indicators that we'll be keeping tabs on and preparing an annual report on the project to see how we're doing. And this brings us to our almost last slide. So we presented the draft bylaw and released it for public review on February 20th. Now we're gearing up on March 20th to bring the draft strategy forward for first and second readings. Then we are looking at April 10th for a public hearing. After that, we will be referring the document officially to all member municipalities as well as neighboring regional districts and the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs for formal referral. There's a 60-day time clock that counts down, and within that 60-day time clock, we're very hopeful that you will give us a recommendation, either in support or against. That's council's prerogative. And then if everyone gives a recommendation supporting the project, we're hopeful that we can adopt the strategy on June 19th. And that is the end of my presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, wonderful. Yeah, you've done a phenomenal job. The work that, I've been really, really fortunate at the PRD table. I've been able to see this sort of process ongoing. And so, the work that you've put into this is just phenomenal. You guys have worked so hard on it. I love the visuals and, everything is really, really well laid out. And I cannot wait for this to be fully done and get out into the communities and, for them to really see what is being looked at and what's coming forward. Do you guys have any questions regarding anything on the presentation? Councillor Whittle, do you have any questions?
The only question I have is with looking at the regional growth strategy and bringing in potentially other infrastructure and transportation. I imagine that you guys have an open dialogue with CN since they're the only rail provider we have. So if they do have anything on the horizon or if they do decide to make changes, that would be reflected in the document going forward.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor, to Councillor Whittle. I wish I could say that was the case. We did extend an invitation to CN to participate in the steering committee and unfortunately did not have any uptick in that. However, through some of the action areas like the regional transportation master plan, that's where we'd look to try to, engage at a higher level with them to try and actually bring them in through that process. Again, that would be kind of at their prerogative of whether or not they choose to participate. We would be hopeful that they would engage with us on such a big project, but in terms of this actual document here, there was no input from CN.
So another quick question, I guess. So would it work? I guess if we were having meetings with CN or we run across CN people at different conferences, if we were to advocate that they might want to be involved with this.
Certainly, or even just to reach out to us and give us a contact. I think sometimes having an actual face makes those connections a little bit easier. So happy to receive any and all connections.
Awesome, sounds great. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
No? Well, everything looks awesome. You've done a wonderful
Very
job,
well
and thank you so much for coming out and presenting to us. And you've covered everything so much so they have no questions. So
That's the goal.
Right? Awesome. Well, you're more welcome to stay if you want, but you do not have to. You are a very, very busy woman, so do not feel that you must stay. So
Thank you so much.
yes, have a wonderful night. We'll see you later. Alrighty. I was just going to ask you, Mr. Spolsky, I see that there's a recommendation to receive information. Do we have to have the delegation, or they just come in?
No,
You're
just have to
fine.
be accepted though.
Yeah.
Not for motion though.
Yeah. So we're all good.
We're good.
Okay, perfect. I was like, just give me the word I'm looking for. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
Take care.
Alrighty. So moving on to unfinished business and business arising from the minutes. 8.1. A recommendation that council approve and adopt the grant match funding procurement agreement, authorize the chief administrative officer to execute the necessary documents on behalf of the village of Pouce Coupe. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, this is the presentation that we received last week or the week before from that organization that they don't receive any funding unless they actually get us funding.
Correct, Councillor.
All right, cool.
Okay, perfect. And I'm assuming that you already have a few ideas of things that you're going to be talking to them about?
Absolutely. Procurement for capital towards park development is going to be a key one, as well as some major infrastructure life cycling projects that are going to be on the horizon that we'll be discussing in the town hall presentation in Cameron.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. I'm very, very, very excited. This is so cool. I'd never heard of them until you brought them in, and so I'm excited to see what we can get done through working with Grant Match. We've been really, really lucky. We are quite grant dependent as a municipality, and grants have saved our taxpayers millions of dollars. So this is just another phenomenal avenue for us to go through. So that's really awesome. Thank you.
Administration is very keen and optimistic on this opportunity, Honorable Worship, so we're just as excited.
Perfect. All right. Well, let me call the question then. All those in favor?
Yeah, in favor.
And that is carried. Okay, perfect. All right. Flip on the page.
Just a quick note, sorry. Should I ask that we take the screen sharing off so I can see you guys?
Absolutely. Sorry about that, Councillor.
Not a problem, thanks.
Okay. Oh, hello.
Hi, folks. Councillor, can you see us now respectively?
No, it's still up there, I think.
How about now?
I can see you guys in the little window, but yeah, it's just the main screen's just a blank screen. I can still see your cursor moving around.
a good presentation. Yeah,
We just spoke with her outside and it sounded pretty good.
it was very well done.
I apologize for being there.
No worries. I wasn't sure if you were gonna make it, so I had heard that you might not be.
No way around for me.
There's
Oh, really?
the highway.
around for me.
No, we texted, I do apologize.
I was telling us you were late, but you want. Yeah, no, honestly. Because I could have made it a few times late.
Oh gosh, you even phoned me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
We're still-
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. And yet it's still up on the TV. Weird.
What's going on with that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's good on my end.
And it's good on your end, Counselor?
Not that we need to stare at ourselves, I guess. It's just, oh.
Yeah, everything looks good for me.
So I can close this down and see if that works for our end.
There we go.
Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to be able to see Timmy. He's put his hand up. All right, perfect. Well, we're going to move on to new business. So 9.1, FCM 2025 delegation report. The council received the FCM 2025 delegation report for information and provide direction on any further actions or follow-ups as necessary. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wall. Discussion. I'd just like to start by saying thank you so much, Mr. Cebulski, for all the work that you have done in kind of looking into this. I do see that your recommendation is for us to not go with our current budgeting, and I do completely agree with the recommendation that you are making. This year with the deficit that we are facing, while I do understand the importance of the FCM conference, I know that next year they're going to be a bit closer to home, and to fly people out to Ottawa for this year, I just don't see it in the budget. So I do thank you for all the time that you spent working on this, and I was hoping for a different outcome, but at the same time, I do think that you're moving in the right direction. Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree with the mayor on this one. I am disappointed that that is the recommendation, but I see why it is. I was looking forward to some representation by Pouce Coupe at FCM this year, especially with federal government changes, and who knows what's going to be happening, but it seems like we might not be able to get as much out of this year's conference as I had originally thought. So I appreciate the report on that, and I will be voting. Would it be opposed or in favor of this motion?
Depends on how the motion is worded, so.
Oh, it can't be a negative.
It cannot be a negative, so it would have to be a motion to attend and then vote opposed. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Councillor Rabbit?
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's been a moving needle. It's been quite federally and internationally, it's been moving quite rapidly. With these conferences, there's always opportunities to make new connections, to get information on new grants. And so with UBCM, if we put our eggs in that basket, and of course, keeping mindful that we are the stewards of taxpayer dollars, I think there is still absolutely the need in the future for the federal level of engagement. This time would have been lovely, but I understand that this council has not been yet to FCM. You went previously, but members of this council haven't done.
Yeah, and then even when I went, I paid out of my own pocket to go. Yeah. So the village at this point has not funded anybody from this council to go. Okay, perfect. Oh yes.
I have a question through you to Mr. Cebulski here. Next year, do you think we could have some sort of proposal or some ideas for federal monies that could be coming to Pouce Coupe on various projects prepared in the next, what would that be, 16 months to the 2026 FCM? Do you think it'd be appropriate for us to not go this year yet consider still attending next year? Or do you think it should be altogether not considered for this year or next year?
No, the host location will be alternating to a West Coast location for next year's FCM. So administration's recommendation would be to attend next year. but to avoid attending this year in Ottawa.
Is it possible to work that to keep that in mind and work that into the 2026 budget?
Depending on operational and capital requirements, obviously making sure the functions of the municipality are paramount in that.
Of course.
That's the first priority, but it can be something that is compartmentalized and considered at budget time when we start formatting and developing that in quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2024, or 2025, sorry.
Yeah, just to keep that in the back of the mind for whenever that comes up, right?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well then, I'll put the motion on the floor that, I don't quite know how to word that, two different options here. I would say I put the motion on the floor that 2 delegates attend the FCM held in Ottawa. And then can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Okay, and then so just, because it can't be in the negatives, it has to be yes. It's like one of those double switcheroonies.
Could I make an amendment to the motion?
Oh, please.
To just be that Pouce Coupe send a delegate? Because then if it were to fail, then it's just nobody's going. Right?
To send representation.
Yeah, to change it to Pouce Coupe send representation to FCM.
Sure. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Okay, and you're still fine seconding that, Councillor Johnson? Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And all those opposed?
Opposed.
And I'm opposed as well. And that motion is defeated. Thank you. All right. Okay, moving on to correspondence. There's none. Resolutions none. Bylaws 12.1. Take it away, somebody.
The council gives first reading to bylaw number 1052, municipal ticketing bylaw 2025.
Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Ravel.
Thank you to staff, Mr. Cebulski and staff, and all those involved with creating this. Essentially, this, from my interpretation, is to unify it, to say, okay, here's the ticketing bylaw to empower our bylaw officer, or technically the CAO and others involved with managing our bylaws and administering them, to essentially say, okay, these are a unified fine schedule, which helps us adapt and change it as time is needed instead of going through every single bylaw that this is associated with. But my question would be, the repeal portion, the 5 repeal portion, simply repeals the fines within those respective bylaws, all 20 or 18 of them, but keeps those bylaws intact for the time being, because in the future there will be kind of work done to unify it and get it more full, but this time let's eat one elephant at a time kind of thing.
Well, ultimately your MTI bylaw and then your actual bylaws of provision are going to be separate documents. Your MTI bylaw is going to be similar to a consolidated user fee bylaw, so if you do have to look at fine schedules, you're just reviewing one document, but the actual teeth to each respective fine schedule is still going to be respectively in its own exclusive bylaw. So as you can see, there will be a lot of bylaws that still have to be periodically reviewed. You can't really get away from that practice, but at least we wouldn't have to attach a fine schedule review every year during capital budget and operational budget practices for the sake of revenue increases.
Councillor.
I really appreciate the expedited process you and staff have done on this over the last, because I know a couple of weeks ago it wasn't nearly at the state it is today. So I really, really appreciate that expedited process, and we can move this forward as quickly as possible. I also want to note that the changes that were asked for before have been rectified, and it's been kind of consolidated into a more readable document.
With progressive offensives, which were asked for respectively, but I believe yourself, Councillor.
Yeah, I did ask for that. That's what I'm trying to say. Is thank you for putting that in. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'm surprised, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I'm surprised that you guys were able to do it this quickly. I think this is one of the fastest turnarounds in a document we've had this term.
Our team is strong. Our team is very strong.
I'm very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Rabbit?
And then I guess the brass tacks question is enforceability and fitting in with existing legislation, empowerment and whatnot. From my understanding, the previous issues with all these different bylaws was it was really hard to enforce them. It was really hard for those tickets to stand up. Now with this presented ticketing bylaw, this will bring that teeth empower the bylaw officers and other folks involved with that to actually have this stand up to the test of whatever proceeding comes from this.
This will allow the bylaw fine schedules to be an actual genuine deterrent towards, let's say, behavior outlined that would not be considered appropriated or allowable or eligible. So ultimately, the general provisions section from 3 to 3.3 is the teeth that we're looking for when we have those infractions and those notices and those ordinance violations, so that we can have the backup to bring this to the court process and have a violation notice that has the ability to be followed up on.
And then building upon the work of others question, this is comparable to other municipalities of a similar size. This is comparable to other standard practices of municipalities within British Columbia.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Whittle?
Yeah, so my question is, and forgive me, I might have missed it, my audio is a little spotty. Does this allow us to, if we have an unpaid portion of, say, fines or levies, that we can collect that through property taxation?
That is correct.
All right, thanks.
I believe over a balance of $500.
Thank you.
Councillor Holt, you still have another question?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor of first reading of bylaw number 1052, municipal ticking bylaw?
In favor.
And that is unanimous and carried. Wonderful. Perfect. Moving on to item 12.2. Anyone take it away?
That council gives the first reading to bylaw number 1061, Parks and Open Spaces Bylaw 2025.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Rabble. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Wall?
I do have one question on page 109. I see we're going with the name Office Park.
That was a default determination by administration, or administrator here speaking myself. I did not know necessarily what we were going to be with official verbiage or nameage for the park, so that is just a placeholder name.
May I make a suggestion for an alteration, just to see how the discussion goes on this? That we call it an unnamed park for now, and then just unnamed park, and have a public survey out. See what people think the park should be named. Get the school kids involved, have their, have the community's input on what the park should be called.
I love where you're going. I think we should definitely do that. The one reason why we haven't really done that yet is because I was kind of hoping that we could sell the naming rights and not looking for funding to get the park built. So that's why it's sort of just named Office Park, because I'm really hoping that a really great oil and gas company would love to fix the park and name
Or
it
that
Office
option
Park.
too.
Yes.
That could also be an option.
So that's why it's still named Office Park, with a future of a wonderful company willing to fund it and name it themselves.
Could we just change the document though to unnamed, because we know it's not going to be Office Park, right?
Would that create confusion, Mr. Smolsky? No?
It has an address.
The unnamed?
There's no issues with that change.
It sounds
The
like,
near office park.
Can we call it the park previously known as the Office Park?
As the official name of the park.
I was thinking Orphan Park at this point in time, but yeah. If council would like to see that changed on the document, that's fine. We would just need to accept it for first reading with that amendment.
I will make the motion then,
Okay.
that on page 109 of this agenda, on point 2, that the name Office Park be changed to unnamed park.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Whittle. Thank you.
Just because it's not the name.
No, I liked Councillor Whittle's previously known as. Yes, Councillor Ravel.
Out of curiosity, is this document, because, okay, so my understanding is the intent to create a usage bylaw for our parks and public spaces. Are there other documents that name these parks, or have they always just colloquially existed within the, does this actually define the name because they've never really been defined before, or are they defined through some other documentation? The names of the parks.
So, can I answer? So these parks are named, like they have plaques on them, and yeah. So that was predetermined by previous council, or, yeah, they would have named those.
Except for that one.
I think there's a sign. No, there's not.
I don't trust anything. He's like, nope, I've seen them, that's what they're called.
But it
This is a
is
bad
usually-
recommendation.
It is usually council responsibility to designate a facility, park, asset, anything with an actual colloquial or official term.
If it's gonna be a fancy new park, I think it would have a new name,
And somebody will name it when they fix it.
whoever that may be.
Yeah, that's right.
My recommendation to council from administration would be let's focus on procuring the capital required to develop in that park.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see that as necessary at this time. I'd just leave it as is or call it near office park or something, but unnamed park sounds bizarre, so.
For a company to look at funding it, my perspective of this is, from Mayor Beach's point of view, which is that maybe we could, have it named after whoever built it. That would be great. They could see this document and go, that is a possibility, right?
Yeah, I've been toting that all year, so sure. I've been toting the name it doesn't have a name, or you can name it after you or your great grandmother if you want it. Yeah.
We're inside of this motion, but I've got some other questions about other parts of the document. Are we able to discuss other suggested amendments at this time, or should we proceed with concluding this one?
Let's proceed with concluding this one. So all those in favor of Councillor Ball's motion to amend item number 2, office park, to be unnamed park. All those in favor? I don't really care either, so yeah. All those opposed?
Yeah, I'll go opposed, really, because at the end of the day, we're going to change the name when the time comes, so it doesn't really matter what we call it at this point in time. It's just a placeholder.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, no, I'm gonna vote opposed on that one as well, so. Kate, any other? Yes.
Okay, so animals in park, dogs must be leashed at all time. Remove pet waste. Makes sense, but therefore, does that prevent anyone with a dog from, there's no dog park in town, technically, right? I don't think there's a dog park in Goose.
There is on the
There's
hill.
a Dawson.
There is on the hill. There's a sign that says,
Really?
yeah. On
Where?
in Dokesville.
No.
What's that park called?
Where it is.
How, maybe we say dogs must be leashed at all times except where permitted. Like, just do a catch-all, because maybe we'll have a dog park in the future. That's all I'm suggesting.
My only concern with that is now we're gonna have all this additional signage that's like dogs are not permitted, dogs must be on the leash, and so then every park's gonna have to have that, so that the permission is defined.
I would say dogs must be leashed at all times unless explicitly permitted. And then you get stuck with it. If there's a sign that says dog park, leash-free area within a nice chain link area, then there you go.
But you see that signage regardless at the
Yeah.
dog park, so it would almost nullify the need for it.
Yeah.
But in the technical nature of this, if dogs must be leashed at all times in all parks within the village because of this bylaw, then that would prohibit a leash-free area in any space in the village.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, you don't want dogs running around parks and playgrounds.
No, trust me, that's not what
Yeah.
I'm getting at. I'm just saying some folks want a dog park in somewhere.
Is there a specific park that you're concerned about?
No,
Oh.
I'm
Do
just
we have
saying.
capital plans for
No.
possibly a
No.
park or something that's been outlined in our corporate strategic plan for?
I was thinking, the reason why I was asking if there's a specific park is I do know that some people do take their animals down to the Pooskippi Park and they let them run in the field there.
Yeah.
And that this could potentially create concern for those people that have been using that space as a bit of a dog park. But if that's something that council would like to designate within that specific park, it's far easier to have a focused motion on that one area than to sort of wash everything with the same brush. And so that's sort of what I was thinking, yes.
That's why my recommendation would be that dogs must be leashed at all times except where explicitly permitted.
But if we do that, we're gonna have to specifically change that park and specifically permitted to that. Like it's like that additional step adds in additional work for the staff, and where if you were to pass this and then you would like to allow dogs to roam within the Pooskippi Park,
Then you'd have to change this bylaw again.
well, You would just add the addition of the Pooskippi Park.
It'll just be another two bylaw.
Yeah, just be an amendment.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah.
So be it. Then another piece.
Okay, well, Councillor Wall had his hand up as well.
What's the name of the park in Oaksville?
Left key or something.
That's
Left
the,
Park?
No, left piece of 17th, I think.
Yeah,
Dawson,
no,
a nice bush
yeah,
one.
you're
That
right.
park does have a
It's a
sign
great-
that allows dogs off leash.
isn't that Peterson? No.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it's Peterson, it's something wrong.
I've
I've
read
been up there.
some residents do refer to that park as the dog park because it is fenced.
5,548, it would be Hardin Park.
What park is it's not fenced up there?
No,
No,
it's not fenced.
it's not fenced at all.
That one?
Yeah, it's on a hill kind of. I
Yeah.
think it's not much of a park myself, but.
You know, I'm gonna just do it.
Well, hang on, just gonna, yeah, no, that one is, the back towards the wooded area is fenced.
Yep.
Just because we've had issues with moose and stuff back there.
Okay.
But the entire park is not fenced. The only park, well, the other park in the community besides this one that's completely fenced is the one that's over
By my house.
in Bissett. Yes, that one's completely fenced as well, but it's got that gravel in it, so again, it's not.
No, well, that's not. No. I've just heard people call that park the dog park.
Oh, interesting.
So I thought it always was.
No. There, Councillor Rabble.
I put the motion on the floor to change 4.5 first bullet to dogs must be leashed at all times except where explicitly permitted.
Seconded by Councillor Wall, okay. Councillor Rabble?
My justification for this motion is that if we put in this new bylaw, it's good, it makes sense, you know, let's say what's allowed, what's not allowed in our parks and recreation spaces. But we should always leave that open to, if we're to have a dog park, if we're to have a certain area, because there is liability associated with the dog park, it has to be, you know, chain linked and, you know, limit access and all this stuff. But there are folks that, you know, live in small areas, have small backyards, or wish to walk around with their dog, and it will change quite suddenly a lot of people's lifestyles, and I want to allow that we can designate areas as dog areas as needed, as required, so that we don't have to come back into the owner's process of adjusting this bylaw again in like a month or something, right? Or in 2 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think leave the window open, allow us to enable it if needed, but for the time being, in all technicality, it just eliminates it anyways, right? Because the default with that wording is that it is prohibited, so that if the bylaw approaches somebody and they've got an unleashed dog, you know, in an area that's not for unleashed dogs, then they're able to handle it, right? The thing is empowerment, right? And clarity.
Sure. No, and I completely respect your point. I will be voting opposed to your motion just because at this point in time, I think it creates issues with our bylaw officer as well as signage within our parks and adds to excess work for our staff. So at this point in time, I will be voting opposed, but I do respect your reasoning behind the motion you put on the floor. Any other comments regarding the motion that's on the floor from Councillor Rebel? Yes, Councillor Wall.
Through you to Mr. Sabalski, would this motion add additional work for you and your team?
Well, we'd have to get additional signage for Moose Park, example, where I guess outlined by respectively by councillor that has presented the motion. It does get used as a de facto dog walking area. If we wanted to still allow that or make that eligible, we would have to have a sign that allowed that exception. So there would be some overhead required. There would be some, you know, implementation time required, as well as additional patrol time of our bylaw officer, as opposed to it being a issue where we're just reacting on possible complaint or violation notice. Now it's more of a patrol area.
Councillor Rebel.
Because some people might use certain parks already as off-leash areas for whatever reason, whatever interpretation they currently have, because it's been rather casual, let's say. Now by going full Monty and saying dogs must be leashed at all times, it's going to be a very sudden change. And sure, for the majority of parks, they will be leash areas. I'm saying that, right? But designating certain areas as dog parks, that's a very common thing. And I think we leave the door open to that so that folks dog owners who wish to do that with their safe dogs are able to do that. I think we leave the door open to that.
That's a discretion of public office. I was just answering the inquiry from Councillor Wall respecting if this would create more work or overhead administratively as well as operational for staff.
To just add the sentence, except where explicitly permitted, that would add.
Well, yeah, because we'd have to get signage for those examples that we just discussed and conversed about.
If we wanted to allow that to still be a practice or behavior that was eligible in the park, if we wanted that to be a prohibited behavior, well, then it's just status quo of what's included in this bylaw.
I mean, keep this final remark and then we'll call the question.
My fear is that in all technicality, people who presume themselves to be law-abiding and following the bylaws to the best of their ability and knowledge suddenly would find themselves, after several meetings when this is fully passed, they would suddenly find themselves in violation of a bylaw that they, are kind of surprised. And so I want to make sure that we keep a window open to accommodating these, recreation lifestyles that people have that are within reason.
Okay. Just for clarification, Mr. Sobolski, within our bylaw that's controlled by our bylaw officer, it does state that all animals are to be leashed while in the community, does it not? This is actually already kind of a bylaw.
This is just a redundancy on top of that bylaw.
That's what I thought, okay.
Especially with liability purposes, so say we are talking about Poos Park, for example, we have a dog running off leash and then a disc golf player playing disc golf, let's say 500 meters away. We need to have those provisions and protections in place to avoid litigation.
Councillor Whittle, I'm going to allow you to speak because you haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, so just a quick statement. With something like this, one, if we do decide down the road to add a dog park, it's, from my understanding, it's just a simple amendment, as Mr. Sobolski said. The other thing is with this new bylaw coming into play, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to get a ticket that they didn't realize that the bylaw changed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there is an appeal process, and somebody can bring that ticket to council or to the administrative office to appeal it if they feel it was unjust. Especially like in this first phase of implementation of these new bylaws and fees.
That is correct, Councillor, and we will discuss with public office the ability to extend a grace period or an expression of a grace period so that we can have the educational practices and prompts that are required for this change of service or change of requirement.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor of Councillor Ravel's motion to add on, can I get the verbiage, please?
To add on explicit or dogs prohibited unless explicitly posted under section 4.5.
I believe the wording, the point of order here is that dogs must be leashed at all times except where explicitly permitted.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, motion is defeated. Great. Yes, Councillor Ravel?
Under 5.1.3, it says for outdoor rink, no reckless skating or hockey outside designated times. Does that therefore enable reckless skating and hockey during designated times? Just a technicality, I'm just saying.
I think the designated times portion of that, just no outdoor.
Well, ultimately, the municipality would be stressing and recommending no reckless skating or hockey at any times, realistically, and that would be covered under a general liability and usage of that facility. But a provision to that verbiage can be explicitly included in there.
Just for clarification, Mr. Sobolski, this does not ban skating from the skate rink, right?
No,
This
not
does
at
not
all.
ban hockey from the skate rink.
Not at all. Not
Just
at all.
reckless behavior.
This wording does not ban anybody from going into the skate rink and skating or playing hockey.
But it should deter the public from using the skating rink at 4 in the morning on a Saturday.
Well, that's a sound issue, so yes,
Yes,
definitely.
exactly.
It
So-
should also stop them from driving on it, which would be nice. If they quit doing that, that'd be handy.
I think the people who drive on it aren't going to be reading the Bible.
Fair enough,
Fair
Councillor.
enough.
Should we put no driving on it?
That's a given. The no driving thing, that's a.
There is something I would like to add into this bylaw though. I believe during rules and regulations
Under 4?
on page 110, I think we should add a line that says, no person shall use illicit substances in the park.
I believe we have that under section 4.3, under alcohol and smoking.
It says smoking, vaping, and and cannabis consumption are,
Oh, we don't have illicit substances, so we can't
we
add.
don't
some.
have
Yep.
illicit substances. And that doesn't include needles, which is a major concern, right? So I would like to put the motion on the floor that, I guess that would be, would it be under 4.3 or just under 4.1?
I think it would definitely probably fit better under 4.3 because it's already covering alcohol, smoking, and cannabis. So I think it definitely fits in well there. I think as long as it's in period, it's definitely handy, but I think it definitely fits in that general area the best.
Okay, I'll make a motion on it.
I'll second it.
I haven't made it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I would like to add into 4.3, smoking, cannabis, vaping are prohibited in all parks and open spaces, including of illicit substances as well as injection.
Okay, and you still like
I'll
to?
second.
There you go, thank you.
Yeah.
Any discussion regarding the addition?
It could just be another add-on, like in the list, smoking, vaping, cannabis, and illicit substance consumption. I think that would keep it clean.
I prefer yours.
Sure.
I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Mr. Sabowski will make it look real fancy if he does that.
Just another question though, just for this, with the development of everything going on in provincial politics and provincial legislation and whatnot, I'm wondering what bylaws other folks are using, because some of this stuff's already prohibited by legislation, which is, we can mention it here, that's fine, because we're saying, you know, these are things that should not happen out in public. But I'm assuming the cannabis and the vaping and the smoking is already covered by some smoking stuff and the illicit substances. I'm wondering what phrasing will help stand the test of time, and that's also compatible with how other people are interpreting current legislation and other bylaws.
I can't really have a good answer for that, Councillor. There is really no verbiage that's going to stand the test of time. That's why bylaws get amended and repealed regularly and reviewed regularly. Things change, legislature changes, behaviors change. So I can't really enclose
Bad
yeah, I can't really enclose an
I don't want to list the types of narcotics, I just want it to be like,
a blanket term of what is an
Yeah.
illicit
Yeah.
substance or a legal substance. That's why I would say is my best recommendation. So
Yeah.
when we get into the actual nuance of naming scheduled drugs, well,
I don't want
we
to say
know the
illegal
province figure that,
substances.
the federal government figure that stuff out.
I don't want it to say illegal substances, I prefer illicit substances because they might just legalize it again.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. All right. Any other comment or question
On that one,
on that one? Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor of the addition of 4.3?
In favor?
And that's unanimous and carried.
and that's like a list of illicit substances.
Illicit substances.
Just another clarification. I don't mean to be so nitpicky. I do apologize. Sorry, I'm sorry. 4.1, no person shall, and then the fourth bullet point, no person shall set fires. Oh, never mind, doesn't matter. It says except. Sorry, I apologize. Then the other one would be 5.2 skate park, no motorized equipment allowed. That hopefully would prohibit somebody with mobility equipment, right?
Yeah.
Motorized. It's just assumed.
No, so that runs under the Accessibility Act, which is managed by the province, which supersedes this bylaw.
So it's like motorized sporting equipment is the intention.
Yeah.
Dirt bikes, e-bikes, things of that nature.
Okay. Because they go too fast.
I just thought of this, I should have thought of this question before, but as we're in the conversation, I thought of it. Would that prohibit the village from, potentially a future council wants to buy a Zamboni or something like that? Do we have a Zamboni?
Yes,
We bought one when I was on council.
we have a Zamboni.
Does it prohibit us from using the Zamboni that we own on our own skating rink?
No.
No, it doesn't.
It's a first.
Because this
Ice
motion,
net.
That's the safe part.
That runs under our maintenance bylaw, which we would use to supersede this one.
Okay, just making sure, okay.
and the exact reference of motorized equipment is referencing to the skate park, not to the outdoor rink.
Oh, it's just under outdoor rink and skate park regulations.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, Councilor Rowell?
The graffiti rock thing or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
this one,
Authorized art is allowed. It's stated on the sign that designates right there what is allowed upon village approval. The village approval is listed within there, nothing that is offensive or foul language, or so the signage is directly there next to the skate park. Unauthorized markings would be considered vandalism. Again, that's swearing, that's vulgar pictures, that's, and yeah.
Alright, cool. Just checking.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor of accepting first reading for bylaw number 1061, Park and Open Spaces bylaw? With the
In favor.
Okay, perfect.
And this includes this event and park permit application.
Correct.
Yes.
Schedule it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that is unanimous and carried. Thank you, Mr. Swolsky. All right, moving on to administration reports. 3.1 CAO report. 13.1, sorry. Can I get a second on that one? Seconded by Councillor Ravel, thank you. All those in favor of receiving for information? There you go.
We're not going through it, we're just.
No,
In
he
favor.
is, we're just pre-doing it, he can read it and.
Thank you, Your Honor, Worship. So pretty much just outlining administrative and corporate officer activities for our February 13th to February 22nd. We have maybe 5 bullet points we'll be discussing here today. Major work has been already included and reviewed on this agenda. 2 of those major projects were expediting the municipal ticketing information bylaw. So this is pretty much to enhance our ability to enforce those local regulations effectively by streamlining ticket procedures, but also give us the teeth so this can stand up in a courtroom. We also reviewed our Parks and Open Spaces bylaw, so that works in conjunction with our municipal ticketing information bylaw, and this is pretty much a comprehensive document outlining usage of our public facilities and open spaces. So this includes park hours, permitted activities, and enforcement measures. We have been working diligently on the Making Sense of Village Spending report, so everyone does have a copy that we'll be reviewing in closed session. So I do want to say a kudos to our administrative finance teams. They've put in a lot of extra work here, so this is going to be a communication tool that we're going to share with our ratepayers and constituents to improve our financial transparency and show our ratepayers what their dollars in tax allocations are going to. So we have a really great breakdown of, for every tax dollar that we collect in property taxes, 54 cents actually goes to the municipality, and 46 or 53 cents goes to the municipality, and then 47 cents is shared with external agencies. So it really does drive home the point that, well, while people may have the perception, or residents may have the perception that the tax bill is steep or high or always increasing, we don't always get the total 100% allocation of what that invoice or bill does remit to. I did attend the CAO forum in Victoria last week, so there was a lot of focus on elected officials' code of conduct and procedures on how to deal with code of conduct violations. So we looked at a provincial ombudsman review and what type of oversight they could provide in that process, similar to how the jurisdictions of Alberta and Ontario take care of that. And we looked at some procurement challenges regarding the tariffs as well as future green initiatives. Some major policy updates that I'm currently working on that will be on some committee of the whole meetings in the future. We will have an established Christmas closure policy so we can have consistent holiday closure schedules. We will be bringing back through mayor motion corporate communications policy for additional discussion, and we are going to be working on an updated working alone policy to make sure that staff safety protocols are in place when working in isolated environments or practices. Town hall preparations, I guess, has been the major other activity that's been on the agenda over the last few weeks. So through the village spending report, as well as our PowerPoint presentation that will be accompanying the activities on March 5th. We have completed some service level surveys, which I'll be printing off shortly and showing everyone in the closed session, just so we can gather some critical data and resident feedback on, are we hitting the stride of completion and milestone on our service levels and budget priorities? Do people feel like what they pay for in tax services or service fees is equated to what is valuable service? So we'll be kind of trying to hit the nail on the head there. So we'll be presenting that report in the coming days so that we can get some financial transparency awareness developed through our constituency, as well as reviewing the PowerPoint presentation shortly. So there's just a little bit of an impact assessment of these goals and these completions being delivered. and next steps are how this aligns with strategic alignment and how we can keep moving forward with positive momentum.
Wonderful. Awesome job. You have been a very, very busy man, as always.
Every day.
Every day, that's
Every
it. Wonderful, thank you. All right, any questions for Mr. Sapolsky before we move on? None? Okay, perfect. Well, I'm glad that the CAO forum went well, and you got a few things that you brought back, and I'm glad that you made it back safe.
Thank you. Best I could.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So moving on to action items, and we're currently working on that list. Same with the capital and special projects. That'll be coming out after the budget. We're going to move on to council calendars. Please look at the list there. So March 5th will be our public consultation. We have a special meeting for first reading and ratification on March 19th. Final approval on March 26th. Final budget and public hearing on April 2nd, and implementation of the new service fees on May 1st. So just those added special meetings, please be sure to add those into your calendar so there's no confusion as we move through those. And then moving on to reports. So Councillor Johnston, what you been up to?
I attended the Family Day celebration over at the community center. It was very well done, and I think there was probably about 60 people there. I'm glad I made it to that. And I attended our special meeting on Monday, the budget meeting. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Les hasn't come to a date for a meeting yet, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Councillor Rabel, what have you been up to?
Well, I do apologize for being delayed getting the meeting today. There was a situation on the highway which fellow councillor may elaborate on, but anyways, essentially, yes, today is Pink Shirt Day, so I wore a red shirt, which is as close as I've got, that's got a collar to a pink shirt. And as I see, the mayor also has a pink shirt on today, and councillor opposite has somewhat of a pink shirt. But what we're getting...
There's little pink flowers in between the blues.
See a little pink flecks.
Yeah.
But no, Pink Shirt Day is important because you know, every day should be an anti-bullying day. But you know, today's the day where we think about, hey, how do we be reasonable and respectful in our communications with folks, and especially in the schools and the school districts and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's significant to say, hey, you know, buddy, I'll stand together with you and I'll wear a pink shirt, kind of thing. Yeah. I attended the special meeting earlier this week. That was the special closed meeting. And yes, okay, that's it.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And Councillor Wall.
I also apologize for being late today. Councillor Rabel and I carpooled, so that is how that went. I did attend a special meeting on Monday, and I did have a conversation with Constable Burton. He's kind of spearheading an anti-drinking and driving program here in partnership with MAD Canada, MAAD. What they're doing is they've already launched this in Hudson's Hope, Chetwynd, and Dawson Creek, and he's looking to expand that throughout the South Peace region, where it's partnering with municipalities to put signage up, anti-drinking and driving. It's a free phone number. It costs the municipality nothing. It's all paid for by the RCMP. I think it's MAD.
Yeah, MAD partnership.
Yeah. Which, yeah, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, that's what it is. And he's part of the BC Highway Patrol, and I'm thinking I'm going to ask him to do a delegation to us on this program. But it's something I think that the village should really consider. It's because we do have a drinking and driving problem in the South Peace, and so far this month we have already had 20 incidents. So I think it's a program we should look into. Mind you, so far this month it's the second last day of the month, but let's maybe, I'm making it sound like it's the, you know, it's the third. No, it's almost the end. Yes. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. Oh, and I am meeting with our fire chief to talk about the training room that they need over there and the potential for future service level expansion with a auto aid agreement. We're going to be talking about that, what the differences are, things like that, what might be beneficial. That's actually happening on Friday. We have that conversation.
okay.
I know I said last meeting that it was going to happen, it got pushed and
Yeah, bumped.
it got
Gotcha.
bumped, and now it's gonna be, it's Friday.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Rabble?
If I may, the other piece with those mad signs is because they're not a sign that can be approved to be on the side of the highway, it's going to have to be on some sort of property adjacent to the highway but still visible from the highway. So that's the kicker, is my understanding, right?
Yes, but it could be on village roadway easements. And they are, yeah. So it just need permission from Modi to put a sign on the highway, as I understand it.
I'd love to have him come out as a delegation and tell us more about it.
Correct.
Okay. Councillor Whittle, what have you been up to?
I attended the meeting on Monday, or special meeting on Monday. Other than that, unfortunately, due to medical reasons, I haven't been able to do a whole heck of a lot else.
Well, I hope that you begin feeling better, but we're happy to even have you here via Zoom. So thank you for still coming in the only way that you can. So thank you so much. Alrighty, well, I quickly scribbled out what I've been up to. I will type it in an email and send it to you because that's much easier, I know. And I also forgot my laptop in my car, which has my PRD notes on it, which I will also send off to you. On February 14th, I met with staff here at the office and just did my usual weekly check-in. February 15th, I attended and volunteered at our Family Day event. As Councillor Johnson said, we had about 60 people attend. It was wonderfully attended by many people in the community. It was quite charming. Mr. Sobolski has never seen a community that actually helps clean up a event held by a municipality. He thought that was pretty cool. I told him the secret is you start cleaning up 20 minutes early and then they'll all help.
They do this,
They do it every time.
every time.
So
It was very endearing to see.
yeah, Mr. Spolsky has never seen that in any of the communities he's ever been in, and it just really spoke to what our community is like. And so I thought it was so cool that he got to see kids helping. They were putting away chairs and they were clean. It was phenomenal, and he was pretty smitten about the whole thing. So it was really cute. So thank you to everybody who came. Huge thank you to you. And staff, you guys worked so hard. You know, it was definitely one of those things where it was an idea that myself and the public library had that you guys just sort of took and turned into this amazing event, and it was wonderful. So huge thank you to you. Huge thank you to the Poughkeepsie the public library. They were phenomenal. They had games, they had crafts, they were such a huge help. They were a massive support, and they also covered half the cost. So without the Poughkeepsie Public Library, the event wouldn't have gone anywhere near as well as it did. So huge shout out to them as well. On February 17th, I met with one of our local residents in Area D. They are interested in taking over the farmers market from me, which I am so excited. I know. When I started the farmers market in 2022, I had always hoped that somebody would be willing to take it on, and somebody's willing to take it on. So I'm really hoping they'll be coming as a delegation. I'm hoping that you'll hear from them soon. Have you heard from them by chance? No. Okay, I will reach out and poke them again. But they are interested in taking over the Poughkeepsie Farmers Market and expanding it to be even larger. Yes.
Is it still going to be happening at the Legion?
I don't know. I think they're interested in doing it in the community center, which is a win for the community as well. It's kind of one of those, yeah.
Oh, but the cost associated to it.
I know, yeah. So that's something hopefully we'll learn a bit more about as it goes out. But I was just really excited to receive a phone call of somebody interested in taking it over. I was like, yes, please. I will give you all my signs. February 18th, I met with Northern Health. I meet with them every 3 months, and I talk to them about seniors programming in the community as well as accessibility. They're really looking forward to our Seniors Aging in Place program that we were talking about a couple months ago. And so they're asking for updates on that. And I did explain it is in our 2025 budget. So they are going to be keeping a big eye out for that one. We talked a little bit about accessibility. Currently there are 3 buses up at Rotary Manor that are not running, but are in perfectly good running condition. And I'm trying to poke Northern Health into getting one of those up and running to see if they would be willing to drive our seniors in for doctor's appointments and prescription refills. And so that's my current focus in this weird committee I've somehow created with Northern Health. So yeah, I will be meeting with them again in May. So I meet with them every three months, so I will have another update for you at that point in time. February 19th, I attended the PRRD meeting. I do have some notes regarding that I will send out. The one I do remember is regarding the RGS growth strategy that Ashley just finished presenting on. Excuse me. I do have quite a bit of notes in that that will affect the region and the local communities and stuff. So I'll send that off, and Mr. Cebulski, if you want to take anything from that and use it in your own, whatever. And then February 19th, I met with one of the Kelly Lake First Nations leaders in the community. They have a vote coming up within the community of Kelly Lake regarding leadership and self-government. And so he was just really kind of wanting to come in and talk to us about what that could potentially look like and different projects that they have going on within Kelly Lake. As them being one of our closest First Nations neighbors, it was really, really nice to have him come out and talk and visit. And it was we sat here and had coffee, and I kind of got to fill in on what they got going on. They have some really exciting housing projects happening within Kelly Lake. Looks like they started with 12 units about 5 years ago, and now the project has expanded to over 36. So they're extremely excited about that. February 21st, I met with the staff again, did my usual check-in. February 22nd, I volunteered at the Pouce Coupe Food Bank and just did an overall check-in with everybody there. They're all doing really, really well. They did ask about their liaison, and I said we're just waiting to send the letters out. Is that what's happening?
Finishing up the binders.
Finishing up the binders. Thank you.
So we just have budget preparation season, taking some precedent at this moment.
Okay.
And as soon as March 5th is passed, we will have those going out.
Perfect. I did totally throw Councillor Whittle under the bus, said it was all his fault. And that he just didn't want to talk to any of them. So that's on you, just so you know. I let them know that.
I was working from home today.
You'd be kicking me. I did let them know that, yeah, he will definitely be coming. We're just waiting for those letters and binders to come out. So they're very excited to have him come in and kind of see what happens around there. February 24th, I held the special budget meeting here with council. And then today I had a crazy busy day, I'm going to be honest. I was in a special PRD budget meeting this morning, met with staff this afternoon, but I had the coolest experience this morning that I'm not sure if some of you have seen on my social media, but on February 7th, myself and Courtney from the Pouce Coupe Public Library were invited to judge on a t-shirt design contest for Pink Shirt Day. And one of our very own elementary students, Madison, won. This is Madison's design and her t-shirt. She's in grade 5. And she won the design, and the shirt says, "Be kind, words can hurt or words can help. Speak up, bullying isn't cool." Madison is 11. I did a huge write-up. Her parents are super proud. The village shared it on their social media. And I think they put something on the website about it. The school shared a whole pile of things. So 11-year-old Madison designed 150 of these t-shirts, and they were sent out today. And I got to meet her this morning.
That's wonderful.
She's lovely. And then that led to me talking to a gentleman from the CJGC. So he was going to do a story on our amazing students. And I would just like to say a huge thank you to the staff at the Pouce Coupe Elementary School for fostering creativity within their students that could potentially lead to change. And I just thought it was such a wonderful way to encourage students, whether it's encouraging their arts or skills or encouraging their anti-bullying. I just thought it was really, really neat. So yeah, check out her story. It's on our social media, and she is phenomenal. So she's so cute too. But yes, I will write all of that out because that was so much information. Alrighty, so we are now question period. Nobody's here. So we're going to move on to in camera. So Motion to move in camera as per section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of the municipal services that are in their preliminary stages. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. All those in favor of moving in closed?
In favor.
And that's carried. Oh, now you speak. I'm making fun of you about the food bank. Total silence. I'm offended.